welcome to DD India Global. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Ali Sabri has backed India in the diplomatic row with Canada over Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's remarks. US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, also said that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made mistake on giving standing ovation to Nazi war veteran in their parliament. Here's more.
India and Canada witnessed diplomatic row after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's recent allegations. He came under pressure after his opposition demanded proof. And just after this, leaders across the globe condemned Trudeau's statement. The latest to raise concern over Canadian PM's remarks was India's neighbour Sri Lanka. Foreign Minister MUM Ali Sabri backed India during an interview with a news agency at New York. He said the Canadian Prime Minister has made outrageous allegations without any proof and extended a rousing welcome to a Nazi veteran terrorist have found safe haven in Canada.
Some of the terrorists have found safe haven in Canada. Canadian Prime Minister has this way of just coming out with some outrageous allegations without any supporting proof. The same thing they did for Sri Lanka, a terrible total lie about saying that Sri Lanka had a genocide. Everybody knows there was no genocide in our country. I'm not surprised that sometime Prime Minister Trudeau comes out with outrageous, unsubstantiated allegations.
US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, speaking at the 20th Indo-US Economic Summit in Delhi, said that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made a mistake on giving standing ovation to Nazi war veteran in their parliament.
I think everybody recognizes the mistake.
Ambassador Garcetti called for an even more ambitious approach to India-US ties, emphasizing the need for a seamless bilateral relationship.
We need to invert that and to figure out a way that we can raise that ambition of what you expect. We're trying to do that in Mission India by advocating for American companies to invest in here and those Indian companies that want to come and invest in America. And you can count on us to be that friend when you need us and to be somewhere else when you need less of us as well.
Supporting India's stand, world leaders have expressed their views. India has clearly said that no specific information was ever shared by Canadian government on the allegations that Trudeau leveled, and the charges are politically driven.
Ahead of his address at the United Nations General Assembly, India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, held a meeting with UN General Assembly's President and expressed confidence that outcomes of India's G20 presidency would contribute to the UN General Assembly's discourse and deliberations. The Indian Foreign Minister also met UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, where they discussed how India's G20 presidency has contributed to strengthening United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda. And India's External Affairs Minister also held a meeting with United Nations Development Programme Administrator on the sidelines of the UNGA in New York. During the meeting, Dr. Jaishankar appreciated UNDP's engagement with India's G20 presidency initiatives. Taking to social media X, India's foreign minister said, both India and UNDP can work together to scale up India's success stories. And next, let's talk about the Nagorno-Karabakh exodus amid ethnic cleansing fears. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London, gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, a humanitarian crisis unfolding in Nagorno-Karabakh. Thousands of ethnic Armenians continue to flee as we speak.
It looks that way, Shubhendu. Armenia says that over 13,000 people have already crossed into the country since last week's Azerbaijani military offensive in the region. At least 20 people have been killed in an explosion at a fuel depot in Azerbaijan's Nagorno-Karabakh.
Amidst the fear of ethnic cleansing, over 6,000 ethnic Armenians have crossed into Armenia from Nagorno-Karabakh since last week's Azerbaijani military offensive in the region.
Ethnic cleansing of Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh is underway, so that's happening just now. and that is a very unfortunate fact, because we were trying to urge international community that
Armenian leadership said they do not want to live as part of Azerbaijan, while the refugees who reached Armenia believe the history of their breakaway state was finished.
Armenia is already almost gone. No leadership. If they knew history, they wouldn't have done this. History of the genocide, our history, if they knew it. Karabakh is Armenian. There were never Azeris in our village.
My husband died in the first war. He was 30. I was 26. Our children were 3 and 4 years old. It is the 4th war that I go through, and my husband died back then. He was 30 in 1994. That's the cursed life that we live.
Meanwhile, powerful blast rocked the mountainous Nagorno-Karabakh region as ethnic Armenians streamed out of the breakaway territory. The explosion at a fuel storage facility near the regional capital wounded more than 200 people. Senior US officials arrived in Yerevan to affirm US support for Armenia's sovereignty amidst a mass Armenian exodus from Nagorno-Karabakh.
President Biden sent me and our delegation here in the wake of course, your calls with senior US principals to underscore the United States' deep commitment to Armenia's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and democracy.
Earlier, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan met Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev to discuss the latest development in the Karabakh region, which Baku has taken from the ethnic Armenian separatist.
Well, the chief of the US Agency for International Development is calling on Azerbaijan to protect the rights of civilians and allow humanitarian and monitoring missions.
First and foremost, we are calling on Azerbaijan to maintain the ceasefire and take concrete steps to protect the rights of civilians in Nagorno-Karabakh. President Aliyev has promised to guarantee the rights of ethnic Armenians. Azerbaijan must live up to that promise.
Russia and the US are trading accusations of destabilizing the South Caucasus region. Despite Armenia's historical security partnership with Russia, relations have soured since Moscow's invasion of Ukraine last year. The Russian ambassador to the US, Anatoly Antonov, has called on Washington to avoid promoting anti-Russian sentiment in Armenia. These exchanges follow Armenia's criticism of Russia's lack of intervention during Azerbaijan's capture of Nagorno-Karabakh. Ukraine's special forces say the commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet has been killed in a Ukrainian attack in the Crimean port of Sevastopol. The Russian Defense Ministry is yet to confirm or deny the news. The Ukrainian military claims the attack was targeted at a meeting of the Russian Navy's leadership in Sevastopol. Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, has expressed fresh concerns about the continued vulnerability of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine. He says the IAEA has deployed a team of 10 safety experts to the plant. Grossi gave an opening speech at the 67th regular session of the IAEA General Conference in Vienna. IAEA member states to discuss various issues including bolstering nuclear safety and security initiatives. South Korea, Japan and China have agreed to hold a leaders' summit at the earliest convenient time, with the Japanese media saying the meeting could take place in December. They met to discuss reviving their long-suspended leaders' summits. South Korea and Japan also tried to reassure and address China's concerns about Seoul and Tokyo's deepening security ties with the United States. In August, the South Korean president and the Japanese prime minister took steps to mend ties after they held an historic trilateral summit with US President Joe Biden, which focused on boosting cooperation on defense and economic security. And that's it from me for today. Shubendu, back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Ollie, for those updates. And with that, we've also come to the close of this edition of DD India Global. You can track us with all the updates on our social media handles on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. News and updates continue after a short break. Namaskar. Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change.